Welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Grill. We're here to do it all over again, and we have another special guest this week joining us. Michael Maloney, a.k.a. Chef Michael. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Adrian, for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming in, mate. How you been? Good?
Going well?
Yep.
Yourself?
Yeah, as good as we can be.
I've heard some good things about this podcast, so I'm very looking forward to today.
Oh, don't worry. We're also looking forward to it too.
We are.
Which now will bring in our somewhat regular guest, Paul Italiano. Welcome.
Did I hear Chef Michael? Is that?
He did hear
Were
it.
you part of that campaign? What are the Blues cooking? Was that you in the kitchen? Mate, well, it's gone a bit stale, hasn't it, mate?
Yes, I'm going to extend my hand out of nice to see
It's
you,
good,
Paul.
mate.
This is the reference of peace now.
You've, as we can tell the viewers, you've actually blocked me on Facebook, and I'm now able to get my message across to you. But when Collingwood lost that prelim, the unblock button was clicked
Against Sydney Swans.
Yeah.
Very fast,
I picked up my phone. Michael, I thought he was blocked, and he's unblocked me, and he's had a good little rhythm. But we'll get into it today, mate. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, it's funny enough, boys, we actually got a pretty big show. This is probably the most talking points that we've spoken about all year, but it was a jam-packed round. So we're going to get into the Gary Rowan bump, which we're going to cast people's memories back to Thursday. Feels like such a long time ago. Michael, you want to speak about Jordan Dawson and his creek,
Yep.
the Adelaide skipper, and what he's been able to do, and you want to speak about his leadership and his on-field talent. Also, we're going to speak about the umpires. We don't like bringing this up, but the harsh reality is throughout the course of this year, the umpires, for whatever reason, have not delivered, and we thought with the four umpires it may improve, but doesn't seem to be the case. Paul, I know you want to speak about that. We're also going to mention who can still make finals. That logjam between 5th and maybe 10th is getting
14th,
pretty intense.
I reckon.
Yeah,
We'll go to
14th.
14th.
Yeah.
Gold Coast there, something. Yeah.
Yep.
Gold
15th
Coast winning,
Carlton.
yeah.
15.
I'm glad you put 14th.
He's still talking about
Are they?
finals.
Are you?
I'm definitely not.
That's positive. Well, it's funny you mentioned Carlton because the next topic after who we think can still make finals is going to be where to for the Blues. And
Yeah,
Mike, if you want to speak about that, we'll give you your opportunity. We're going to bring in not a segment, but just something that Michael suggested, an overrated and underrated. So it might be a question without notice. So you've probably got about half an hour or so, however long it takes to think about it.
We've got a list.
There's
here.
one overrated player, or could be two overrated players, and also an underrated player. The Who's Cooking segment, where we go through top 5 teams, top 5 players. Beautiful, know about that. And around 16 preview. I did bring in, this is not going to speak about it, but we did bring in the top 100 rich list, which was published in the Herald Sun on Sunday, I believe. So, yeah, make of it whatever you
Is that
will.
cash in Clayton's hands, is it?
Yeah.
It's going straight to
Just a bit of
the
more.
The pokies, I
yeah,
think.
pokies, yeah. It's gone straight to the tab. Anyway, look, there's something there if you boys want to go throughout the show.
Perfect.
I don't think it's gospel, but it's a very good insight. There are some things that in there that, you could take out of it. Example, Aaron Norton's the highest paid youngster in the AFL on $800,000 at the age of 23. And to be honest with you, I think at the moment he wouldn't get a game in Italy the way he's going. He's going that bad. And GWS have 5 players in the top 25
And we
of
all know
the
about
top
Carlton.
top rich list. So
5 out of the top
5 out of the
25.
top 25 play at GWS, and those players are Steve Canelio, Toby Green, Lockie Whitfield, Nick Haynes, and Josh Kelly. So
And Himmelberg.
Himmelberg's not under
Was he
25, and then you've got also Sam Walsh, who's 22 years old. He's number 30. But yeah, look, it's an interesting list. But look, without further ado, we'll get into it.
Let's go.
Let's cast the viewers' memories back to last Thursday at GMHBA Stadium between Geelong and Melbourne, and Gary Rowan landed a blow on his teammate Jeremy Cameron. Paul.
Well, if he was an opposition player, would it be weeks?
4.
Weeks 4.
4.
4 weeks, you're
3
saying?
to 4. It would have to be.
Yeah. But why is it if it's an opposition? Because he went in with his shoulder tucked in. He went into the contest, shoulder tucked in, made contact with the head. Player gets concussed, knocked out. Why is it that you don't get weeks? Obviously, it's not intentional, but either is some of the other bumps. They're all not intentional. Why is it if it's your player? Because it was still careless what he did. Could have been anyone, because it was his own player, doesn't get weeks. So I think it's been a big talk.
I think
point
the game would get questioned if they gave him week.
it
Obviously,
would.
we all three
None
of
of
us
us think
know.
that he should be getting weeks.
Yeah,
But
no.
saying
It's
that-
just a good
It's a
talking
talking
point.
point. I think, well, straight off the bat, you can't give him weeks. Is his intention to go after his own player? Definitely not. It's hard to argue for or against it because
Well, I think it goes the other
It's
way.
that big what if question.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
if?
well, I think it
I
goes
suppose
the other
we'll
way.
never know.
Why don't we give him weeks? Because it's not intentional and it's your own player. But
Correct.
how many other players knock someone out and
Well,
it's
Geelong-
not intentional?
But the problem with that is Geelong would then suffer twice because not only do they lose Jeremy Cameron, they lose
Lose Rowan for
Yeah.
And to be honest, Gary Rowan was probably the guy who won them the game.
Yeah, no, it was. But I'm going the opposite way. Should
Yeah.
the AFL then come out and say, well, it's not intentional. Maybe
Yeah.
we should look at other actions that
Yeah.
are not intentional because accidents happen.
I
That's
do
a good
agree with
question.
that.
Yeah.
So if it isn't intentional and there is a certain amount
So,
of, you know,
a question without notice for both of you while we're on the topic. Do either of you recall a bump like that where it was inflicted on an opposition? I know the Cameron one was his own teammate that was not intentional and still got weeks. Because I
off the
don't
top of my
recall
head.
I don't recall any bump that was not intentional to an opposition player.
off the top of my head, with maybe the, I'm
I'll
thinking
tell-
years ago now, Matthew Lloyd
I'll
against
tell, you
Chris
which, I'll
Judd.
tell you which one was recently. The Friday night game between Port Adelaide and Western Bulldogs, where there were a few, not rumours, but circulating Twitter on that game, that Friday night game, was should Marcus Bontempelli be suspended for that hit on Dan Houston?
Yeah.
I think that was unintentional. But yeah, look, I know it's a question
didn't get
without
weeks,
notice.
though.
No,
but
he didn't get weeks.
What do you boys
Was
think?
there one, Alex Keith on Lynch? Did he get suspended when he got off?
Possibly.
The Dogs?
I thought it was Lynch who got suspended that week, and he also
was
did
Lynch,
his,
sorry.
and he also did his
He
leg.
concussed. Yeah, it was Lynch, sorry.
and he
That's-
also broke his leg.
Sorry,
in the same
Lynch
game.
hit Keith.
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Did he get off that?
I don't know, but what I do know is
I
that
think he did. I
ended
think
up
he got off.
ended up breaking his leg.
Yeah, it didn't
Like,
matter
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
It's like a parking ticket to him.
Was Jordan to go was intentional?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. It started already. Jordan De Goey's, he just lined him up from Burke Street.
I
It was
don't
intentional.
think Geordie's was intentional.
Yeah.
I was just checking his run.
Okay.
Yeah. Head.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a black coat. The one thing I would say is I think the difference between eras is evident when it comes to what is intentional and what isn't.
Yep.
You look, I think Matthew Lloyd posted it on the Footy Show on Sunday. He did a massive bump on Chris Judd in like 2008, and it wasn't intentional. Two blokes going after the ball. Now you do that, you get easy 2-3 weeks for the person who goes after the ball second. Back
Yep.
then, he didn't get any weeks
so,
for it, and Chris
so
Judd was
what you're
concussed.
saying is the person second to the ball. So
Got
if you
the
and
weeks.
I are going head to head and we're going for
Yeah.
the ball,
Yeah.
you get the ball first, but I'm a fraction of a second
Yeah,
late,
you
and
concussed
I
me.
Yeah.
concuss you. I'm going to get penalised.
Correct.
Yeah, I think Lloyd's one was he didn't tuck his shoulder
yeah.
in. He came out with his arms
Yeah.
and they both got concussed. I
They
think.
both did. He said we were both
Yeah,
concussed.
yeah,
we
they
would have
both
missed
got
both
KO'd.
weeks after it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I look at it and think to myself, like, imagine if that was now. Imagine if that was right now.
We've
wrote
been
that down.
asking ourselves last couple of weeks about the rules and about the MRO, and I think a lot of the public are questioning it. What's your thoughts on it? Do you understand what's going on?
I don't think there's any ruling, understanding, no clear black and white guide that you can look at and say, yep, I know he's going to get this on Monday. I know he's going to get this on a Tuesday.
Yep.
If a bump happens this weekend, I'm still questioning what's going to be happening on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, so you
I
are
don't know.
confused.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, great.
And I don't think any of us know.
No, we don't.
The bump.
Yeah.
Although I reckon if you hit the head, forget about it.
You're done.
You know.
Yeah, but
Or-
what
or
is
always
done?
concussed.
But define done. How many weeks are we talking?
Oh, I think then that's where they got their little checklist. Like, is he concussed? Isn't he?
Are you Toby Green?
Could he
There
play on?
is a
Couldn't he play
criteria.
on?
If you play for Carlton, you know,
Yeah,
you
Toby
you
Green.
blokes got lawyers on the
Yeah,
retainer.
we'll take care of
Carlton
you.
don't get suspended, do they?
Nah,
No, we
know
take
what that
care
is.
of you. We do well.
Yeah. Oh well, look, that's a good topic. Look, we're going to move on to
Actually,
Jordan
Can we
Dawson.
just go back?
Go on.
If Cripps was this year, that
Yep.
bump, would he get suspended?
Well,
Yes,
we'd have
he
the
would.
same lawyers, so
He
I
would.
don't think he would.
No.
Who are these lawyers, by the way?
They
Well, none of your
work for
business.
the family.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah,
of course
we-
they
I don't
are.
even know who the family is, but
They're in
we-
your salary cap too. I
Yeah,
reckon.
mate, they're on retainer, mate.
was busy.
They work pro bono for us, mate. Quarter of $1 million a year, I've been told, on retainer. No, I've got no idea.
But he would get weeks, wouldn't he?
That is a very good question.
You
Just
would have to.
quickly,
You would
Yeah.
probably have to.
I think personally last year that the circumstances around that Cripps bump on Archie, I reckon that's the reason why they've adjusted. 'Cause
Adjusted it a
I
little
think
bit.
the AFL looks silly. The MRO look. I mean,
Well, what happened? Carlton found a loophole, didn't
Carlton
they?
took it
They
to
did.
him and basically
Yeah.
embarrassed him.
Yeah.
Mate,
There was
Carlton-
some
they beat him
loophole
at
in
the
their
right game.
wording, yeah.
Yeah, they beat him at their
You would remember because I know you're a Carlton fan, but Carlton were that arrogant before that Melbourne game. They
They named him.
him in the
They
team.
named him before he was
Like,
even
they-
not suspended.
I didn't work obviously because we know
lost
how
the next two,
we know
but-
how that ended.
Yeah,
He went on his Instagram run for 7 days in a row,
And then he wonders why he
posting
got blocked.
Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, I do believe there is merit to the thought that perhaps Cripps or Carlton challenging and winning successfully.
And Chris winning the Brownlow.
Winning the Brownlow, I think that
reckon?
You'd have to
I
rule
reckon
that out
it
straight away.
rubbed a lot of people
Yeah.
up the wrong way.
I
so.
agree. Well, you couldn't
Yeah.
have that going a second round. Like, imagine if he did get suspended, won
Yeah.
the Brownlow, and then it happens
mate.
again this year.
Well, I've got a
Imagine if
theory about if
That'd
with Zach Merritt. He got suspended against Melbourne up in Gather Round.
Yeah.
Or Melbourne. He got suspended at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah,
I remember,
yeah.
and I think he's tracking. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he's tracking well
having
for
a
the
good year.
Brownlow. He's having a good year. It'd be interesting to see.
He's having a good year.
I don't reckon the AFL want that.
I don't want to happen again.
Yeah, we don't want it to happen again. Anyway, we're going to move on. Michael, you want to speak about Jordan Dawson's Creek or Jordan Dawson from Adelaide and
Jordan Dawson's
Mate,
Creek.
I couldn't think of anything else.
Well,
to
apart
say, to
from
be
the
honest.
creek that he ran through this bloke's mob on the weekend,
Yeah.
he was clearly best on ground in my opinion. Bloke's
Yep.
a gun. There you go. He was. He clearly was.
Jordan Dawson
He's a
was
gun.
not best on ground.
Who was? Your little boy who
Nick
handballs
Dacos.
at 5
Nick
centimetres.
Dacos was best on ground.
Okay. Well, we'll get to our
And
top
if you
fives
watch that
later.
game, I'll tell you what, when he comes on, he changes the game. The kid's a freak.
He
Jordan
comes
Dawson.
on.
Nick Dacos.
What's he come on as a sub?
When he
So
got
he had what? He had
relegated the other
120
way.
you
minutes.
watch the
He had
game
120
close, you
minutes
watch
to
when Nick
forget about
Dacos
himself.
comes on in the last quarter,
Yeah.
he changes the whole game. He's a freak.
He's a world beater.
We spoke, remember, just quickly on Dagos. I think the way that Collingwood use him is very
It's special.
So
It's special.
opposition know what to do, but knowing it is one thing, stopping it is another.
Different thing.
But yeah, Jordan Dawson.
Let's talk
I
about
look
Dawson.
I look at Jordan Dawson. I think to
Yeah.
myself, you look at he's come from Sydney, come from a system where he was a halfback,
My word.
gets recruited as a halfback, changes, goes into the wing halfway during last year, and then gets named captain through his work ethic.
Second year. at
Second
club.
year,
That's
after
big
his
at
first
Adelaide. Like
year.
Adelaide
Big
are
red,
not.
yeah.
Adelaide
And they
are
don't
not
do
a
that,
small
Adelaide.
club. Like they're
Yeah,
not.
they're
They're not a
Who's the
minnow
captain
club.
last year, Tex?
No, Sloan.
No,
Sloan.
No, it was
Yeah.
Tom Duday.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. I could be wrong.
Maybe it was one of those text.
It was.
text
I don't think it was
Duday.
Tex. It was Sloan or Tom.
Well, it wouldn't have
Duday.
been
Sloan
Tex.
was in,
I'm actually,
Tex.
I'm actually certain it's.
Not after his
I'm actually
racial.
certain it's Tom Duday, but could be wrong. But yeah,
And then you look at him getting named captain. I'd say he's by far he's a lock for All Australian in my opinion.
Yeah, he is.
Whether he's a wingman or
Yeah.
and he's now a centre midfielder. He actually plays full-time centre. He can go into the goal square. I watched him. Well, we'll get to that decision at the end of the Collingwood game. But, he sets up. He goes into the forward line.
Yep.
He's a beautiful kick, contested player,
word.
tackles. I think everything about him
He's
is
very
just red
damaging
hot.
with his
He's
foot.
probably the most underrated footballer in the league at the moment, I think.
so is he going to be part of?
Well,
the-
he would have been
No,
in
no,
my.
no,
we'll
no,
get
I
to
don't,
that.
I don't think he's underrated anymore.
Yeah.
but I do agree with you.
Now that I think over here
Yeah.
in Victoria now we're starting to understand
Yeah.
how good this bloke is
yeah.
Well, especially when you're interstate and you play a big game, like you play a big game on the
against
G.
Collingwood, Carlton.
Big
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
So you
murdered
get
us.
noticed. You get
You
noticed.
gather round, he murdered us. He had 30 odd and just
Shut down Cripps.
No,
Made him look like a
he was
kindergarten
good on
kid.
Sunday. He was.
he's a gun.
He's good, and yeah, he's used by foot. He's
I think
footers.
I don't know who said it. Buckley. Buckley said on Monday that he has Pendlebury-esque
Yeah, he does,
materials.
yeah.
Just the way he moves the ball.
Yeah.
He's silky smooth, slow.
He put him on SCN on Monday morning, which I was listening to with the segment with Kane Corns. He put him in the Marcus Bontempelli and Pendlebury mould,
Yeah.
which all three of them are left
buck
footers.
stops
Yeah.
here.
Yes, 7 a.m. on 11:16.
He's got that smooth moving Rolls Royce look to him. Good footy player, I like him.
I'd love to see him kick more goals. There was a lot of conjecture about that decision, but someone on Twitter did put up that he's only kicked 5 goals 7 this year. So
He
maybe
would have missed
the
anyway,
next.
and we would have won by a point. So, what if he got the free kick? Who cares? We still won. So,
The definition of a
do we
provocateur
do?
this man is. The
What do we
definition.
do?
I think a lot of people are
Look,
forgetting what happened
the
at Adelaide
stats-
Oval.
The probability shows he would have missed. He's kicked 5-7.
Yeah.
He would have kicked a point. We win by a point, and we go on.
Okay, so now that we're speaking about that little decision or non-call, let's move on to the umpires, which
Yeah.
Paul Italiano, you want to speak
Well,
about.
no one there. I'll be honest. It was a free kick, but
No one there would have known.
it was the way the ball moved and how quick it was, and his arm sort of went in and out. That it's almost impossible.
It happened so quick, I don't think anyone saw. I didn't even
Yeah,
see it watching
I didn't
it live.
see it.
The siren went, and you just think to yourself,
Yeah.
okay, the game's over.
Yeah, things get missed, but I think Adelaide will walk away and say, well, we didn't take our chances, and that's why we lost.
The
Like,
first 10 minutes they should
Yeah,
have
they
had
kicked
at
long
least
goals,
3-4
6,
on
7,
you.
yeah.
Tex is missing from directly in front. But yeah, me personally, when it comes to the umpiring, I have this opinion that We do it in every other sport. Basketball does it. Soccer does it. Tennis does it. Where we
review?
have a review.
Yeah.
Why can't we have a review?
Probably it's because they don't want to slow the game down. I
We-
mean, I think we need to get past that Jordan Dawson segment. Jordan Dawson.
Yeah, not
so
that
many other
incident.
problems. Yeah.
But
Oh.
what about the Isaac Rankin where it was a non-call, like the soft call for that kick off the ground in the goal square with John Noble was touched. If the umpires called that a goal,
It's a goal.
it's a goal. But
That's
to be honest, the angles that we
saw
saw,
nothing.
you would have seen it. Honestly,
You thought it was a goal?
I thought it was a goal because I thought Noble smothered it onto Isaac Rankin's foot.
When I
Well,
say we didn't see anything, I don't think we saw anything definitively that would say it wasn't a goal.
I mean, and
Yeah.
the 50-meter...
Or, yeah, was it a goal or was it?
And the 50-meter penalty that
was 50.
Dacos basically
No, that
spoke
was
to the
50.
umpire and fucking convinced him.
No, shut the fuck up.
No, man.
Shut up, you dickhead. You got no idea. No idea. I'll tell you what happened.
Here we
right?
go.
Shut up.
Have a listen. Here we
Typical
go.
Carlton dickhead.
Martin Luther King time.
Right?
Please
Here we go.
talk.
Listen.
Here we go.
He kicked the footy,
Yeah.
right? He handballed it. He got held, right? And the umpire paid advantage.
Right.
Right.
And then?
Right. Dacos said, we don't want the advantage. Right? So the umpire said, no worries. It's a 50-meter penalty. Which,
Is it his right to control the game? Can he control the game?
He can control the game.
control the game.
Listen,
Nick Dacos went up to
when
Nick Dacos
we
went
don't
up to
want
the
it.
umpire
Listen.
and told him what to do. Like,
when you're
it's
God, you do
unbelievable.
what you want,
When you're
right?
God. I'll tell Chris Judd that.
Right? Now, listen.
We
The
are.
umpire's an idiot. The umpire should have blown his whistle and said, that's 50. Right? The umpire didn't even know the rules. The umpire's
I
looking
agree.
around.
But that's the problem with the umpiring.
Yeah, they're fucking
so Nick
shit.
is taking control of a dumb
mate,
situation.
Listen, when you're God, you need to step up and
that's
tell them
not
what
God.
to do,
That's
right?
stupidity on the umpire's end.
Yeah, they're dumb.
He's
But
labelling him as
he
God.
said, we don't want the advantage.
Yeah.
We want the 50. He
You
got
can't
the 50.
have. I'm sorry, you can't have players controlling games of football. You can't.
Look, mate.
At the
that-
same
that's-
time as
that's-
well, I agree with that. But at the same time, I think the way it is at the moment, umpires are having a bigger influence on some of these games with two things: their lack of calls, so
Confidence.
non-calls and bad calls. So they've gone and got the 4 umpires this year, which no one's really sort of mentioned because it hasn't really need to be mentioned. But the reality
worked.
is,
I reckon it's worked in the
definitely-
opposite way.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Too many.
And a
How
lot of
many
umpires are
decisions-
saying, I'm not going to pay it because he hasn't paid it.
Yeah. I have
It's-
And
noticed
they,
that.
I've
I
seen
have
one when they
noticed
pull
that.
away.
Yeah.
They pull
I
away,
have
and then there's
noticed
one
that.
in the corner that goes,
Yeah.
that's a 50 or that's a free
Or
kick.
the ump
Yes.
60 metres
Yeah,
down
that's
the
my
road
favourite
paid
one.
it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the ump standing right there is looking. And the one that pisses me off, this is typical umpires. They're just weasels that haven't played the game. They've got no idea, mate. They're in the fucking library at 4 o'clock while the others are out training, trying to get involved. Right? Yeah. You can't pay a deliberate when you're kicking the footy
towards your goal.
towards your goal.
I don't think you can, yeah.
Right?
correct.
Or there was one on the weekend, Darcy Moore was literally getting tackled and it came off the side of his boot and they paid deliberate. You can't pay skill errors.
See,
I
there's
do
always,
agree with that,
There's
yeah.
always a way. We're speaking about the umpiring.
And
There's
it comes
always-
back to Collingwood.
There's always a way where it disadvantages
Yes, Collingwood. Yeah, but they still
Okay,
won.
hang on. No. All right, regardless, there's some every
There's plenty
weekend
of
that
them.
umpires say,
Yeah.
or the commentators like, oh no, that can't be deliberate. It can't be.
You see when they
And it
kick
is.
when the umpires they love running in, kicking their legs up to their ass.
Yeah.
You just know
But-
they love it.
but-
Oh,
And
they run in and
they
then you
get
see the
such a
crowd
kick
lose.
Yeah,
out
they
of
do.
it.
They
They
do.
love
But
it.
how come you can spoil it deliberately out of bounds?
Paul, that's a very good question.
As in spoil it
You
deliberately.
you can punch the footy
bounds.
out of bounds,
But
and they
not-
won't pay it.
I don't think that's. I think it's time wasting.
Which
Well,
is
they-
deliberate.
It's
Yeah, but
deliberate.
that's what they
It's deliberate,
classify it
yeah.
as. Yeah.
There was one on the weekend. I can't remember what game it was. He punched the ball, bounced up. He punched it right over the
Oh
line.
yeah, and yeah.
That's deliberate.
All right. Look, I agree with you boys. I don't think it's been conclusive in 2023.
Just like the
umpiring, so-
umpires and you're all in cuckoo land, as Roy Keenan would say.
Mate,
Cuckoo land.
aren't they? all?
look, the umpires weren't the reason on Sunday. But I don't think the AFL don't make it easier
They don't
for the
make it easier.
umpires
No.
to umpire. Look,
What I will say is I do believe the AFL does their best to protect umpires.
I can't believe they
I don't
came
think,
out on Monday.
I don't
and said-
think, just before we exit the topic, I don't think umpires, like if we're talking about players and coaches that get held responsible, ultimately jobs, sometimes, predominantly coaches, jobs at the end of the year are online because they're held accountable for their performance. I don't think umpires are held anywhere near as accountable as the people that should be influencing the game, which is
is the
coaches
players
and
and coaches.
players.
Yeah,
but
100%.
just make the game easier.
It is.
It's umpire.
It's not
Black and white. Just make
You
it.
know
But
what?
it's
Make
not.
it hits the
Boys,
post.
it's
Make it
not.
black
If it hits the post and it goes in, just pay the fucking
But
goal.
why was it so easy?
Why do we have to
so
get-
many years ago?
Yeah, it hits
the post.
What was that?
Yeah. It does. Just make it a goal. Why do we have
What?
to... Yeah, listen, like soccer, mate. Just...
Oh
Why,
my God.
why do we have to get an arc to see if it nicks the post? Just make it easier for him. If it goes in between the post,
This
if it hits the
conversation-
post, just play on.
This conversation is going so well.
No, it becomes easier.
You know,
to
there might be a
umpire.
spike.
Yeah.
There might be a spike
like
in the
a-
video
it's-
on
I
YouTube
can't
with
It's
this.
believe-
like hitting a baseball
I
and it hits a
can-
rock and comes back into play.
Then
No,
in the
no,
corner.
no, no,
Yeah,
listen.
That's so true.
People
You
don't
can't
like
say that.
pay that.
Yes, people
No,
don't
you
like
can't.
change, but make the game easy.
What
We
is
don't-
this, the NAB Cup?
I can't believe we've got a fucking snicko on the goalpost these days.
Probably barely
Does it
works.
work? Yes.
Nah, it does.
It does work.
No,
The
but
more, the more money they put into this stuff, the better it will be for the game. If that Isaac Rankin decision was on grand final day and I was an Adelaide supporter,
be filthy.
I would
Oh
have
my
been.
God.
I would
Well,
have
we
been
don't know.
down at headquarters.
We'll
the next
never
day.
know.
But that's like cricket. How many LBWs?
Yeah, but
maybe
now they've
a-
flushed out all of it because they have
Have the
DRS.
review.
They've flushed it all out. Go watch the Ashes tonight. It will be completely perfect. You won't see any no ball wickets anymore.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that's correct. But
no, but at
Tennis
the
is the
same
same.
time, with the DRS,
You're never gonna get it.
The DRS just with cricket is only effective if the captain challenges. If the captain doesn't do anything,
that's right.
No,
it goes.
So
You-
every ball
you
is
never
reviewed
know.
now. So they still a no
No,
ball.
I know that. But what I'm saying is, if there's an LBW and
Not
True,
paid.
yeah.
Erasmus,
Yeah,
the
okay.
fucking idiot,
Well, you got
the
no
shit-
challenge.
the
Not
shit
out.
umpire
You got
that
no
is-
challenges.
Well, you got
You're
no
screwed.
challenges.
challenges left. Like you can't review it. So
I get
it's really
that.
it's dependent on. That's emphatic, but yeah. Anyway, look, boys, we'll move on. Who can still make finals now?
Not Carlton. Not Carlton.
Mike, you got something to say about that, mate?
No, just let him be for a minute. We'll get.
I'm
to
going
him.
to bring the ladder up, boys. I'll read it
Yeah.
for you
Let-
so
give
you
me the
guys can
ladder.
think about it. So let's go from where it's real jammed, where 4 points are spread over from 5th
Yeah.
to 11th. St Kilda 5th, Essendon 6th, Western Bulldogs 7th. How did I say West Coast? My God. Adelaide 8th,
Make a
Geelong
research.
9th, Gold Coast 10th, Fremantle 11th, Richmond with the half game 12th on 26. And if we really want to get technical, you've got Sydney and GWS occupying 13th and 14th position. Who can still make the fight? First of all, let's go from the top. So Collingwood and Port Adelaide are non-negotiable.
Yeah, they're
Right.
locks. They're home.
Then we've got Brisbane and Melbourne who are on 40 and 36 points
Brisbane's a lock for top
respectively.
4. They're a lock.
So St Kilda, Essendon, Bulldogs, Adelaide are the 4 that are currently in the 8.
Yeah.
Who out of those 4 do you see dropping? And who do you see outside the 8, which is Gold Coast, Geelong in 9th, Gold Coast 10th, Fremantle 11th, Richmond 12th. Who do you see coming in and out?
I reckon Adelaide you can lock.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They do play
They
finals.
won't
They
lose.
play- they don't lose over
They
there.
won't lose over there.
They're a good team.
and they can knock teams off down here.
Yep. I agree.
5th, 6th, 7th.
So for me, Essendon's run home is just so it helps them out in so many favours. Like they've,
Yeah.
they've got
Powerful.
they've got West Coast again, they've got North again
North.
in here as well.
Way
So
too easy for them. I
they
agree.
probably will make the 8, and long overdue, 5,000 days. But
Doesn't mean they're
They've
going to
gotta
win.
win it,
Doesn't
though.
mean
they
they're
have
going
to
to
win
win a final.
They need
but
to win a final.
I'm going to say Essendon. I'm going to say Essendon. I think I put. Okay, I'm going to make it easy. I'll give you.
I can't
my,
say St Kilda. They're my.
I think the Bulldogs and St Kilda are the 2 most vulnerable
Yeah.
inside the 8.
with the Dogs injury list, yeah.
I've
I've just
never
about
rated
the way that they're
Bulldogs.
actually
Yeah.
playing.
I've never rated them. I don't think they're that good.
I think they got a
I don't.
genuine. I think they got a tough run.
While we're on it, Geelong and Fremantle, yes and no.
Yep.
One or the other. Who makes it? If someone's going to make Geelong and Fremantle are the 2 teams I'm
Geelong.
interested in.
Geelong.
What
Geelong,
about
yes,
Gold Coast?
and
Geelong will make it in for
Penjob.
me. Geelong
they
will
can't
make
win
it.
in Melbourne.
No, they can't win it
Penjob.
here.
Penjob.
Well, we're
Completely
beating them by
Penjob.
11 goals, and they're going to make
I reckon
finals.
they can make-
Geelong and Freo, yes and no, or just one or the other.
I think Geelong is a lock.
Yep.
I think they will make the 8.
Yep,
I think
I
they're too
agree.
good not to. Fremantle, I'm 70% sold that they can because they win enough games over there.
Geelong and Fremantle, and if you want to throw someone else up there.
I'd
Richmond's
say
the
Geelong
one
and
for me.
Richmond.
Yeah,
Okay.
Richmond's the one. I look at Richmond's run home
Yeah.
as well, and they got the half game in there. That could come. That could come into their,
The
their
only-
If they
favour.
beat Brisbane this week, you can lock them in. I
They're-
don't think they
yeah,
will.
They're not
but
going to be. The only thing Richmond do have going for them
Lynch.
is Lynch is still yet to come back.
Yeah.
He's so
They
picky.
don't know if he's
Gibcus-
coming back.
Gibcus,
Nah, he'll come
He'll
back.
come back. Yeah.
He'll
reckon?
come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I-
Push
for
comes
me-
to
You
shove.
don't know
If their
when
push
when
comes
you got a broken foot. It's not.
And he might not come back the same player. We all know
I
that.
tell you what, when you got a broken foot, it's longer to come back because you can't run.
No, you're
Like
right.
the Jeremy Howe.
So you think
We'll go back to
you think he
Collingwood
needs to build up his fitness? Perhaps he needs to have a block of training.
I think they did that with
Well, when you got a
Tom
broken
Does
foot-
anyone
Hawkins.
know if he's back in running?
I wouldn't
No,
have a
I
clue.
don't think so.
It's been a while.
Maybe
drive a moon booth.
It's
I'll
been 8 weeks since he done it.
We'll drive
Like,
past Punt Road later. Have a look.
Yeah. What are you gonna do there?
We'll just drive past. Have a
Yeah.
look. Scouts.
Can Carlton
See
make
if Harry's there.
Well,
Punt Road.
are you asking me if Carlton? Are you asking me if Carlton will make it or if Carlton
No,
can make it?
Hang on,
Just ask me the question.
No.
Can or will?
well, they
Will
can
will
make,
no.
mathematically
Yeah,
they
will
can.
is a no. For me, I don't think
What's
we
their
can.
run home?
Oh God.
I'll tell you now.
Please.
I've got it up here.
But can
Actually,
they?
maybe we'll save that for the next segment when we go over the
where
Blues.
to? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get the run up.
Oh.
So just to confirm, so
Geelong and Richmond. for
in
me.
the 8 at the moment, who comes out for you, Michael?
Bulldogs and St Kilda.
You think they're the most most? Yep. Paul
I think the Dogs and Essendon.
are the two most vulnerable. You think Essendon's vulnerable?
Yeah, they got a tough run. It's an easy run.
Well, it must be out of his mind.
No.
no.
They've got no.
You've Essendon West Coast and North, and it's a
Yeah.
tough run.
That's 2 wins for them,
That's probably enough.
right?
Yeah, I
point.
agree.
You reckon that's enough?
How many
Okay.
wins they got now?
So-
8.
Well, hang on. They got Port this week.
That's a loss.
They won't be beating Port.
Then they've
Where?
got
Wait a
Adelaide.
second, where?
MCG.
It's MCG.
Why can't they win that? If I'm an Essendon supporter,
Oh,
I'd
they
be
can
wanting
win it.
to.
Yeah.
So-
Then they've got Adelaide.
Where's
easy.
that game in Melbourne?
Melbourne.
MCG. Yep.
Marvel.
Marvel.
Then they play Geelong. That's
Yeah.
not easy.
Can't
That's a
see that happening.
GHB.
Then they got the
Stadium.
Dogs.
Yeah, that's tough.
Is that Marvel as well? That
Yeah.
game?
Yeah.
That's
That's a tough.
Bulldogs.
So then they got that 3-week block
Then
there.
they got Sydney.
Yeah, that's
They got an easy last.
the last 4 matches.
I don't see how they got an easy run home.
The last 4 matches are pretty easy.
Well, yeah, they got Sydney at home, but Sydney starting to look like get their mojo back. And they play West Coast, North at the Marvel. They only beat them by a point there last
They'll
time.
be beating North.
You
Paul.
can't
Paul,
tell-
Paul
Right.
Italiano,
All right.
do
Okay.
not sit there, young man, and
Okay.
tell me they will not be beating North
Okay,
Melbourne.
and then
Beat
they've
North
got the
Melbourne.
Giants over there.
Yeah.
They won't be
But
the
they
favourite.
they religiously
Yeah, they
don't
will.
play well over there, to be fair.
Okay,
But
so probably out of those games,
Essendon will go to that game.
How many of those
his
games are they
favourites.
going
they
in
need to win.
favourite?
They need to win 4.
I don't think they win 4 games there. Who do they beat?
I can't believe I'm actually trying to side on Essendon.
I can tell you
to
now,
try
just
and
looking
make
at your
the 8.
phone, just looking at your phone there, Paul.
The West Coast and the North.
They'll be
matchup.
beating, but they'll be winning.
The last-
they'll be winning those 2 games.
Yeah,
They'll win that game there,
they'll
which is
beat
against
Sydney.
game, yeah.
Okay, there's 3 wins.
and the Bulldogs game
It's
is
a
a flip of a
50-50.
coin. They
Yeah.
won't be beating Geelong, and the Adelaide game.
Adelaide's 50-50
The Adelaide
here.
game in
Adelaide.
Melbourne, they probably start favourites.
It'd be close.
It'll be flip of a
$1.90 or
coin.
something, yeah.
So
They can make
Bulldogs and who else
I had
are vulnerable?
Bulldogs and Kilda.
Are vulnerable. Yourself. Who's
Oh,
vulnerable?
they're all vulnerable.
No, but if you had to
most-
pick 2,
yeah, Bulldogs and Kilda.
I'm
for me.
saying Saints, Essendon.
Saints and Essence. Who comes in? Michael.
Geelong and Richmond. I'll
Yourself?
say.
Geelong and Richmond. I want to say Gold Coast.
I want to
but
say.
they're
I
a year
want
old.
to say Freo. I want to say.
I
them.
just can't see a scenario where Geelong do not make the finals.
Yeah, and good luck playing them as well.
Yeah. All right, boys. We'll move on. Good chat. I like that one. And more to come. Obviously, we're in round 16 this week. So
How many
another
rounds
2,
left? 8.
8.
I'm actually excited for the next
9
8 weeks.
Is it 9?
Yeah, I'm sure you're excited when
Yeah.
you've lost 2 games for the year.
No, just not for that. It's more so like
Can't wait for the season to be done.
5th.
Hey, what are you doing on September 30?
September 30, is that grand final day?
Oh, no,
Depends who's
probably
playing.
going to be in a different country depending on who's
if
playing.
they're playing, I'll tell you that.
What are you doing?
It's the grand final, boys.
There you go.
I was waiting for that. All right, boys. Look, let's move on. Michael Maloney wants to speak about his beloved Navy Blues. Where to for the
What
Blues?
could we possibly have to speak about?
We've just spoken half an hour about your rabble. Okay, there's nothing good about black and white. The only good thing that came out of the colours black and white are a wedding suit. Really? It's a shit colour.
This is the
it's
MC.
A shit, it's a
Michael's
shit
an
suburb.
MC at weddings. That's why he knows.
It's a shit suburb. It's a shit football club. It's a shit
Get a
bird.
nice coffee
Mate,
there,
they got
mate.
the fucking worst fans.
Really good coffee.
Mate, they've got the worst fans too. Look, I can
I'm not
tolerate
about
you,
bagging.
right?
You
I
can tolerate him.
I can. I know I can tolerate Paul. Mate, these people, the Collingwood supporters, I understand their passion. Mate, 80% of them, I don't know how, I don't want to know if you can say it. Like, I'm probably not going to use the word, but they're not playing with
Full deck.
a full deck. They're 20 cents short of $1. Like, bro, they are fucking. I'm not going to
Look,
say
every club
they're
has
not,
those.
Tell
Collingwood,
me Carlton doesn't have
Carlton fans are not any better, but Collingwood just seems to have a lot more of them than what any
They're
other
an
club
opinionated
does.
sort,
But
that's
yeah,
for sure.
tell us about
Let's go
Carlton.
back to Carlton, boys.
Okay, so for
Yeah,
me,
see, when we talk about how dumb
yeah,
their
they
supporters
just
are,
change- yeah,
all of a
just
sudden,
change
Well,
it.
the media
He
have been
fucking- he
this
wants
week
to- he wants
how
to
good Collingwood. We got
the one thing I will say,
65,000.
the
The
one
kids
thing
go
I will
for
say
free,
about
mate,
Collingwood,
please,
I'll be honest with you. I'll be on about Collingwood. I am envious of obviously their success. I
I'm
wish
not.
we. No,
What's
I wish.
success?
No, I'm talking about
What's success?
They
They've won
have-
2
they've-
flags in 50
I
years,
understand
mate.
that. They
Won
haven't-
2 fucking flags in 50 years, mate.
I respect Richmond more than I respect them.
Mate,
to be fair,
I respect their fan base because I know that they're loyal.
they're loyal.
I
Correct.
agree with
I
that.
look at everything that they do as a club holistically.
I agree.
And I look at their TikTok, their Instagram, how they holistically.
gives a fuck
No,
about
they
their social
holistically
media.
incorporate everything
fans.
about their football
I
club.
agree.
You know what Carlton do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't stand that. You need to incorporate everything about the ethos of your football club,
Yeah.
from fans, members to coterie groups, everything. Has to be incorporated, and you look. It has to.
There's a good
but you
joke
look
about
at
that.
yeah,
So-
that is
no,
right.
no, no, no,
But then you look at the Collingwood do that, and we don't. That's still Sidebottom when he had his 300th game, and they put banners up in his street. You reckon they do that for Mark Murphy?
I think Collingwood are industry leaders with a lot of
100%.
things.
You reckon they did that with Mark
They're
Murphy?
very good at how
we
they
had
run.
COVID
Yeah,
that
we
year.
are.
A big shout out to Nadine Rabba. She's the general manager of communications here at Collingwood. She's a good friend of mine. Used to know her a lot better than what I do now, but she runs all the media communications there.
On
Should
you,
get me a
Nadine.
job.
What do you want to do? Clean the boots
I'll do anything there, mate.
at Collingwood?
Yep.
Strap
Mate,
Darcy Moore.
Stick to your $1 million.
I'll strap 'em all up,
Stick to your
baby.
$1 million a year fucking business you got, mate.
Yeah.
Trust me, it'd be worth more.
I guess on
Yeah.
Carlton, for
have a
me, they need to find a way to look at the back end of this 8-week patch and find something to get out of it. Now, if we're that deluded and say, yeah, we want to make finals, fine, do that. But you have to set a goal for the next 8 weeks. Because if they turn around and do the same gibberish what they have been for the last 8, they're going to be in the same spot that they are next year. They're going to be. You have to end this season with some type of momentum to put yourself into some type of race next year. You look at what Melbourne did in 2020.
2019.
Yes. No,
2020,
2020. When the COVID year, they missed out on playing finals, but their back end of the year, they won a bunch of games. They put a bunch of confidence into their players. 2021, they were unbeatable. Why can't Carlton do that? I'm not saying that they're going to win the flag next year, but they have to find a purpose as to where they're going to go into next year.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing about them. Be driven as a football club, back in your coach. They can't sack Voss. I'm sorry, they just can't. They have to back in everything at that football club, that every decision they've made, and say, yep, we're going to go forward as a football club and move forward into 2024.
So my question to you just on that, as a fellow Carlton supporter, is without getting into too much depth, what are the changes that you would like to see? And now every
Garage sale.
You know, the thing is, if we had a garage sale, you'd be one of the blokes in your
Who
bloody
the
trackies
fuck
to
is
pick up
this
some
guy?
of the stuff. He'd be.
What'd you say?
He texted me the other day saying,
Garage
hey,
sale. He wouldn't pay the Collingwood support. They don't pay for nothing.
He texted me the other day, I'll give you a day cost for Kerr now. Like, really?
Yeah, impossible. No,
Yeah.
in all seriousness,
Garage sale.
What do you think needs to change at Carlton, or what subtle changes what do they need to implement?
Belief in the players.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a bunch of perennial losers at that club. I hate to say it because I love them all.
Yeah.
But there are. They have to change this salary cap dump that they've put on some
I love
players.
how he's sitting there waiting for me.
Yeah,
to
he's
ask
waiting.
him.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting.
We're not talking to him.
It's a one-way
It's
street.
a one-way
here.
street here talking.
One-way
okay?
convo.
Okay, conversation.
Yeah.
But they do. They have to
Yeah,
change those things.
Yeah.
I think a couple assistant coaches have to be moved on.
I agree. Completely agree.
And I think they have to back in their decisions to make Voss coach.
Okay, so you think they need to support him a lot more,
100%.
and that might
And which
be
they have
might
done.
be in the form of giving him different resources.
A Carlton that is strong and
Yep.
minded 6 weeks ago would have said, yeah, we're giving you a contract extension.
And he's still got one more year. He's
I will
contracted to the end of next year,
Back
which
him
is
in.
end of 2024.
You have to back him in. Do you want to know why? Because Damien Hardwick's sitting there waiting for a job. It's convenient that this week he came out and said, I've still got the hunger.
With Dylan
If I was a
Buckley.
Richmond supporter, I'd be
I'd be
fuming
annoyed.
about
I would
that.
be annoyed too.
I wouldn't be
Why?
happy.
Why?
What do you mean?
We're
Why'd
not
you
here to
leave?
talk about Damien
Yeah,
Hardwick,
but the
right?
thing is, sometimes when you're a player and you've had the one coach for 10 years,
Yep.
you just lose that, like, go on that extra edge for
Well,
for
Carlton
them.
don't know what that is because we go through coaches after 36
Yeah.
months.
No, I know. But he said in his post game the players. He said I've
not
tried.
responding to him.
Yeah, he goes, I've tried cooking the sausage, grilling it, frying it, doing all these different things, and I'm not getting it. And the players need a new voice. So
Sure.
mate, he won them 3 flags.
No, he's
you know,
free.
so be
Probably
it.
one of the best coaches of this generation.
So
clearly.
aside from backing in Voss, which I think they've been very candid about,
I think
which
they
is
have,
good.
yeah.
I think it's a sign of good faith.
there's a lot of bottom six players you
so
kind of need to-
list
yeah.
changes, and
Bottom six players.
you also mentioned some of the assistant coaches need to be turned over.
Yeah. I would
Anything
personally.
else?
I'm not going to name names in regards to
obviously.
assistant coaches, but I think our
Some
crowd
fresh
would know
faces?
who they. Yeah,
Yeah.
100% with a little bit better credentials.
I think you need to get rid of a star.
I agree.
I'm not saying that we don't.
And
it can't be. It can't be one of the
people
forwards.
will agree
It
with
can't
me,
be.
Paul. I'm
But you
cutthroat.
I
can't be a
agree you
forward.
have to.
Mate,
It can't be
I
one of the
agree with
forwards.
him.
Okay,
I
so
agree
name a
with him.
name.
Huh?
Name a name.
No, I don't know who.
No,
and
you
I
can,
don't
if you
know.
know. Why would you make that
don't-
comment if you
let's
don't know
have-
who?
Huh? No, I'm just saying you need to get rid of a
Here's
star.
the list. Tell
right?
me who would you get rid of?
Right.
It
You're
can't be
gonna-
Charlie and it can't be Harry.
Paul, can I ask you something? Is it for the reason that I think it is? Because how I agree with you to an extent. I mean, I don't entirely disagree, but I do agree in the aspect of I'm of the belief that that playing group needs to be divided to an extent. It needs to be
There is a
separated.
reliance on one bloke who's at number 11 here, which is unhealthy. I love him.
Patrick Cripps, by the way.
Okay, Patrick Cripps, freak footballer. We're not going to sit here and bag him, obviously. But there's an unhealthy reliance on him that if he's not doing well, then Carlton doesn't do well. I don't think he's the one to get traded. I'm not saying that.
disagree.
But it is an unhealthy
Yeah.
reliance. There are a certain amount of untouchables at every club. I think Jacob
As
Waitering's
far as
an
I'm
untouchable.
concerned, the only two untouchables at Carlton are Sam Walsh and Charlie Curnow. The rest of them, I don't want to.
I'm not picking on Sam
No,
Walsh,
that's
but
cool.
is Sam Walsh untouchable?
Yeah, he is. To me,
Oh,
he is.
well, I'm looking
Absolutely
here.
is.
You've got Ben King, Wines, Max King, Danaher, Shield, Gorn, Laird, Luke Jackson, Tim English, Brayshaw, and Mitch McGovern gets paid more than all
Well, we
of
all
them.
know that they've made mistakes. in that
hang on,
regard.
hang on.
whoever gave-
Hang on a second, mate.
Well,
If
they're
you
probably
really
sacked
want to
by
go, have
now.
you seen you sitting number 3 and 4 on that list?
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
well, that's
That's probably
we're
why
not-
West Coast is where
Yeah.
the
yeah, that's why
Callie
West
and
Coast
McGovern
has
we're
lost by
talking about.
190 points.
Okay, we
Right,
all
but
know
that-
the mistakes they made there.
Yeah.
Okay, and they've been
Okay.
adamant that they screwed up.
For me, I've always been big on, like, I don't know if you've seen Moneyball and getting the most out of what you're spending.
Sure.
Right? And then you look there and you're spending 750 to 850 of your cap.
We're not. I know you're referencing this particular player. I wouldn't look.
We're not
too
talking to him
much.
as a star.
He's out of contract.
He won't be on that money next year if he's a Carlton.
Yeah,
Michael
no,
spoke
I
about
know.
list changes. There's a
He's a
gambler's
gambler's chance he won't be there next year.
he's not
Yeah.
going to be there.
Okay, so we're
That's
talking
right.
about someone who is contracted.
Yeah,
Name me a player
Well,
at Carlton
you're
who
gonna
would-
need.
agreed.
The thing
This is what I want to hear. Name me a player
the
that's
thing is-
contracted.
Okay, to improve your bottom six.
Yeah.
Right. You're gonna have to drop someone in your top six to expand that bottom six in terms of players. In
We still
terms
haven't
of
got there with a name. I need a name.
to get rid of.
Well, you
Yes,
said you
give
want
us
to
a
trade.
name.
Mate, you can-
I'm not for what it's worth.
anyone. I don't watch Carlton as close as you guys.
I'm not-
but-
Oh, spare me.
Right.
You wait for the moment the siren goes
Right.
against Carlton.
Right? I don't watch him as closely as you boys do, but you got to look at.
Don't give me that
someone like-
hyperverbal
You got to look
bullshit.
at someone like a Mackay.
You can't trade Harry
Mate,
Mackay.
I'm telling you.
Can't.
Mate,
He's,
I'm gonna
he's
sit here,
foundational to a football club.
And I'm going to plead the fifth. I agree with Paul Italiano about a name or a player.
It doesn't
with
need to
status.
be Mackay.
It doesn't need. I'm not going to mention who I think because I rub people up. The
Oh,
wrong
I know
way.
who you.
I piss people off.
I
so,
actually don't mind who you
yeah.
think. I tell you
and
why.
no one will agree with it. And no, everyone's too blinded to
I'm
see
telling you,
Are you talking about skill?
players have worked him out, right? Because he's only good around the contest.
What's it taken him 15
Right?
matches
No,
to work him in? He
but-
won a Brownlow last
yeah,
year.
Yeah. It was gifted, right? Thanks to the lawyers. But
That's what you get. What you pay for, don't you?
Oh, that's true. You get what
right,
you pay
yeah,
for.
that's right. You work, you beat him at the stoppage,
Mm-hmm.
and then you work off him, and he becomes a liability.
Have you ever thought that maybe the people around him probably don't help him as much as
I do agree with what.
Yeah,
if he played
yeah,
at Collingwood,
yeah.
where he had a bunch of players that actually helped him?
I'm telling you
he'd be
now,
a-
he would not
possibly.
excel at Collingwood because Collingwood he'd
Tom
be
Mitchell
he'd be a
excelled.
nobody. He'd be like Tom Mitchell. When
Tom
I say
Mitchell
he's
was
a
done
nobody,
before he
but
went to
listen, the
Collingwood.
reason why he'd be a nobody at Collingwood is because Collingwood play a completely different style to what Carlton do. Collingwood will get the ball, extract, which is what this player, what Cripps, which is what he is, which is what Tom Mitchell is. Bang, get the ball out, explode, run in waves. Patrick Cripps, I'm telling you, if he was at Collingwood, he'd just be another player. I'm telling you right now.
But that's probably what we need at Carlton.
And it's no knock on him. I've
That's
got
probably
no
what we
knock on
need.
Patrick Cripps personally. I just think in terms of
But you're giving
what,
him $1 million
but hang on, I just think in terms of what he's worth and what we can
if
get
somewhere there.
and his value, I think he's the one that you can get rid of and find someone at a much cheaper rate to do the same fucking job.
okay.
That is
It's extremely tough.
Adrian, that is
tough
perfect. Some players get overpaid when you can get a similar player for
I agree.
less the money.
It's a very tough decision to make. There's obviously a sentimental value there. That
Of course there is. I understand that. Carlton, just before we exit this topic, Carlton have built him up where he's untouchable.
He is the Carlton Football Club.
He's the Carlton. He runs the show. Anyway,
But you need change. You can't.
mate, Paul, I
not
agree
disagreeing
with you,
with you
mate.
on
But
that.
today's club doesn't have the balls to fucking do
But
it.
we're talking about. But there's also
They
two
don't-
other
they
players.
won't do
There's
it,
two other
mate.
players on this list
I'm
already
telling
that
ya.
you can free up for salary cap space and probably get something out of. And that's Zach Williams and McGovern. McGovern won't be there next year.
I better open this up because this will bring us on to the next topic, boys. As we mentioned earlier, the overrated and underrated.
Yep.
I'm going to go with, while you boys have one. Do you know?
Maybe for you to go first.
I'll give you my underrated, and it's two. It's a duo. It's the Adelaide two key defenders.
Oh, I love them.
Like,
Do they?
No.
he's injured. mate.
Butts.
I'm talking about Nick Butts and Jordan Murray. No, Jordan Butts and Nick Murray. One of them got injured at half
his
time.
hammy, yeah.
I think they're both very unheralded players. They are doing so much for Adelaide. Key pillars. Like, these two rank so high in key one-on-ones. Now, the Collingwood supporters won't want to hear it. But Darcy Moore, and I mentioned this to you
So we get
when
started on
I
that.
asked you a fortnight ago, Paul, of whether you wanted Darcy Moore or Jeremy Howe as your key defender. You and Paul Sebastiani both said you want Jeremy Howe. You want Darcy Moore as your key defender and Jeremy Howe as your interceptor. I can tell you now, Darcy Moore is 22nd in the comp with 1v1s. I stand by what I said a fortnight ago. You do not want Darcy Moore defending one-on-one. You want him as your interceptor.
You can't sit here and sell me the hope that Darcy Moore's the best one-on-one defender.
Darcy
in the
Moore
league.
to me is the best interceptor besides
Okay,
maybe.
okay.
Hang on.
You
But
guys both
besides Tom
Here it is.
Stewart, Darcy Moore is the best interceptor in the game.
I tend to agree
think
with that,
as a
yeah.
one-on-one defender,
He's horrible.
Like Adelaide's
Horrible.
power forward line showed him up. Who knows what's going to happen in
No,
finals?
not their power forward line. One player
But
showed them up.
Yeah, but they were all rotating. He got
34-year-old.
lost.
Who?
The point
Tex
is,
destroyed him. Destroyed him.
He didn't. You don't watch the
He did.
game properly.
He
You didn't
No,
watch
he
the
didn't.
game, you idiot.
What's it all about? Kicking goals.
You're an idiot. You're
How?
eating spag bowl up your ass on
If you
Sunday.
kick 5 goals,
right?
if
You're
you
an
kick
idiot.
5 goals
and you're
against
carb loaded on the couch. You didn't watch it properly.
You're deluded.
Right?
Absolutely
You
deluded.
mate.
Deluded.
Listen, you guys, you didn't watch it properly. Collingwood defends the
you
whole.
didn't watch it properly.
We know that you defend as a team.
I
We
know.
understand
That's
that.
right.
We're
I
not
understand that,
disagreeing
but
with you.
I'm
You
just-
got Murray or Murphy,
Mate,
whatever his name
his
is, the
fourth
bloke who
goal
looks
he
like he
kicked,
came off the...
Moore wasn't even on him. It was Maynard.
That's the
one-on-one.
problem. He wasn't on him.
But
No,
what,
no.
what they're doing with Darcy Moore is they're assigning a key forward to him and dragging him away from the defensive 50.
Do you really
And
think that
when
you
he gets done in one-on-ones, I'm telling you now, you might be one-eyed like most other Collingwood delusional people
The
that
thing
I
is
know.
with Collingwood,
He can't defend
Look,
one-on-one. I'm telling you.
we're not all right. That is fine, but they don't.
you've
use
admitted
him,
that.
right? They don't use him as your lockdown, like a Wiedering or a.
does.
No, he's not.
Who did he go to when the
Mate,
ball got bounced?
Of
Who did he go
course,
to?
You're an idiot. You
How?
have to go to
How's
a
that an
player.
idiot?
It's a 6-on-6, you idiot.
He could go to anyone. He could stand by himself if he wanted to.
Mate, Alira just does.
Alira
he just
stands in
does
the
whatever he
corner and
wants.
waits for someone to come to
Anyway,
him.
The new way of defending is you
to
defend
not
as
be
a
on your
team
man.
and you
Agreed.
rely on your
which is what Collingwood do.
Yeah, and they
fine.
rely on the pressure. And you watch
agree.
Collingwood.
I agree with that.
We would give up the most amount of walking goals you'll see in the comp. I can guarantee you that because we rely on our outnumber at the contest, and I can guarantee if you beat Collingwood at the contest,
you
with
win
the
the game.
outnumber,
The world knows that.
yeah,
The world
you'll,
knows. Paul,
you'll get
it's
over the
common
back
knowledge.
and you'll
It's
walk
common
in a
knowledge.
goal.
Yeah.
But that's how
They're
it
the
is.
7th easiest team to score at. The world knows that. I understand. Okay, so we need to go to
Are we
these
the seventh
underrated.
easiest team to score? Right?
Yes, to score against. People walk through you like it's like a home robbery, 100%.
You just kick a lot of goals.
Anyway, underrated and overrated.
I'll go with.
I know, sorry, and I'll put you on notice, but we did mention that we want to
Tim
bring it up.
Torino, where's he?
Oh, you
What's he? Can I ask what he's paid here?
47, 700 grand. That he's not
He's
underrated.
number 47
Not
out of
underrated
100.
at that. So
At that price tag, that's okay.
that's value.
Sure.
For me, that's
Yeah,
value.
I agree.
Well,
For
when
me,
you've got
overrated.
when you've got Mitch McGovern.
Well, he's not really selling me a really good.
embarrassing.
Mitch
McGovern, he's
ain't doing
earning.
it. Yeah, Mitch ain't doing me many favors being
Sure.
at 31.
So who are you going for?
I'll go with Max King.
Michael.
Yeah.
Max King
Yeah.
as your what?
I think he's the most overrated player at that price.
So St Kilda Max King, just to clarify.
Yeah, Max King from.
There's only
St.
one
Kilda.
Max
I'm
King,
not
but
saying
the
he's a
St.
bad.
Max King's overrated.
Yeah, I think his brother's by far better.
I mean, look.
He's
there's-
an angry, little intolerant child.
That's a good
He
way
is-
of putting it.
He's
He almost
just-
got suspended.
he's
On,
socks.
mate,
He's a sock.
he's this close to
He's a
getting
sock.
suspended.
He
You
didn't
saw him
kick
on the
goal.
weekend just smacking people because he didn't get his way. He's
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
terrible run up for goal. You think Harry's is bad? He's terrible. And people touted him to be the next bloody, Stuart Lowe.
All right. Max King overrated, underrated. Quickly, we've got to move on.
Max King?
Yeah, overrated.
Overrated.
Who's most underrated?
Oh, underrated.
You can't cheat by looking at this. You're just looking at what they're getting paid.
The most underrated player for me would have to be Jordan Dawson at the moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
done. Overrated, Paul.
Are we going by figures? Or just in
Fuck
general?
them what they're getting paid, mate.
Torano. Oh, I'm going
Overrated.
Cripps. Most overrated player in the comp.
A
right
Brownlow
now.
medalist,
He just wants the
overrated.
fucking
He's the
headline.
most overrated player right now. He's garbage. He's been
I know, I
shit
don't think
all
anyone
year.
rates him.
Someone get the Oxford Dictionary and say the word stupidity and it will come up with his name.
Yeah, it's a Cripps.
Has-
Paul, I agree with you.
Patrick Cribb
I agree
has
with you
been
to an
garbage this
extent.
year.
Okay.
Okay, you're allowed to have a bad year.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
whole
but
team has been
Yeah,
shit.
we're talking now. Or well, I'm talking right now.
Okay.
He's,
fine.
Who's your most
That's
your
your
most
opinion.
underrated player?
Nick Dacos.
Underrated.
He's underrated.
He's not rated by the whole world.
No,
You just called him God.
he needs more hype from you boys. You're underrating
I
him.
literally texted him last night, the top 5, and put him in it because I think I was
Did you?
being
Did you take
unfair.
Josh out?
Paul-
I did actually.
Paul, don't embarrass yourself because I know you watch your show every week from week 1. You should know by now
And the love he has
the
for-
love I have for Nick Dacos. It
We
is
just
it
need-
is
we
it is
just need-
I think he's a very
We
good
unwavering.
just need
player.
to embrace it more, boys.
I think he's a very good player.
We should put his highlights on before the show comes on too.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Maybe have a bubble bath and watch his
why
highlights
don't we?
tonight.
Why don't we just go on our knees and do
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what
yeah.
for him? Like
Yeah.
fuck. Here you go. Anyway, we're gonna get on to the Who's Cooking segment where we're gonna speak about our top 5. We've got to run through this quickly, boys. Michael, your top 5 teams.
Yep, I went with Collingwood.
Yep, you
at
text
number
them here
one.
if you want to reference
Yep,
them.
Collingwood, Port Adelaide. The only reason I had Port Adelaide at 2 is because they don't play the grand final at the MCG.
Yep.
I'm still hesitant about that. 3, Brisbane clear
Yep.
now for me. I've put 4, Adelaide, because I think they have the most stability as a football club
Yep.
out of the ones that are coming.
Yep.
And I tossed up between Geelong and Melbourne at 5.
Ooh.
For me,
I like it.
neither of those two bottom ones at 5 have any stability or,
Sure.
they're just in the bit of a whirlwind at the moment. But they're a 5.
Paul Taliano, your top 5 teams.
Collingwood won,
Mhm.
but I think Port's the most informed team. But Port 2.
11 in a row would suggest that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep. D's at 3. Lions at 4.
Yep.
Geelong at 5.
Yeah.
No worries. Mine, Collingwood, Port Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane, Richmond. For what it's worth, mine didn't change from last week. The teams that had the bye this week, I didn't see them. The teams that I had in the positions that played in round 15.
It's hard to get a ranking over this.
No.
period.
It is very hard. Now we're going to move on to your top 5 players. Michael Maloney, your top 5 players in the AFL at this point in time. Go ahead.
I got Zach Butters at 1, Christian Petrarca at 2. Christian Petrarca is ridiculously
Mate,
good at the
you should
moment.
see the next 3.
Yeah, Bontempelli at 3.
He's oh, you know why he's
I'm doing this on
laughing.
purpose as well.
Yeah, you know why he's laughing.
Yeah, because he's waiting for
Have
Nick.
you noticed something about these 3 players? Anyway, go on.
They're all
Oh,
Italian.
yeah.
Yeah, Taranto at 4. Taranto and Nick Dacos at 5.
Nick Dacos at 5. No
Yeah.
worries. Taranto's
Can I
better
ask
than-
what? Can I ask why?
How is Taranto better than Nick Dacos?
Individually, in my opinion, this is only my opinion.
my
Individually,
God.
in the team that he's playing in
Tim
at the moment, he's playing
Taranto
very
will
good
be
football.
working at Siracos
Well, he's
Butcher
not.
next month.
Well, he's not.
Because I've never seen someone
Siracos is
butcher
second.
the football more than him.
He just won in the last 4 games of football. He's
The
probably
bloke,
got
Mate,
he's
we
a
spoke
butcher.
about this
He's a
last
butcher.
week.
Unbelievable.
He's a butcher.
We spoke
he just
about
keeps
it last
butchering it every week. He
Yeah.
makes me sick. Right? He's just.
Harry
Don't
watch?
get me started on
This
him.
is ridiculous.
No
That
idea.
you think-
Harry's too busy selling something. I don't know. Paul Italiano, your top 5.
We've got
Your top
Dacos.
5
Oh, that
players.
was, well, we wonder who was 1. There we go.
Well, we've got Dacos at 1.
Yep.
I got 4 piles of shit. Then we've got Butters.
That's so disrespectful.
I got
Zach
Butters, the Bonts, Toby Green, and
Yep.
I've gone Zachy Merritt at 5.
Zach Merritt's a good pick.
But
No. You told me someone
I've
else at
changed it
5.
slightly. Yeah.
Have you changed it?
Well, we can go. Well, I was tossing up.
All right.
Can I keep
5
it?
and 6.
Oh, you can do what you want.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Yeah.
What
I
do you
did have
have?
Dunkley.
Yeah,
Well,
Dunkley's been in good form.
So,
He's
but they
been
had
the best
buy, and
midfielder.
so who was your new addition to 5th instead of Josh Dunkley?
Merritt.
You sticking with Zach Merritt, even after that game against Fremantle.
Yeah.
He's had a good
To
year.
be
He's
honest,
been good.
Again, I'll go through my top 5. Very similar to, not in the same order, obviously. Zach Butters number 1, Nick Dacos number 2, and I think it's pretty clear and evident now that those 2 are the standout.
And young players.
Not quite piles of
Young.
shit, but daylight next. Not
Actually,
doing-
Petrarca should be somewhere in mine too.
Marcus
He's been good.
Bontempelli
He's
at
been
number
good.
3, Zach Merritt at number 4, Jack Sinclair, I didn't remove from last week. I've got a thing for him.
He was good on the weekend.
He's really
again.
good. He's a good player. And
I don't have time for him.
Him and Tim Taranto split fifth position. I genuinely can't split it aside from that. Anyway, boys, that's the Who's Cooking segment. Good stuff. Round 16 preview. Run through it very, very quickly here. Thursday footy back again. Thank you, Lord.
Yes,
Brisbane,
baby.
Richmond, Gabba, 20:07. Who wins?
Brisbane should win.
Yep.
Brisbane. Just skirts up there.
Should.
Friday night, for a big game. Friday night, Sydney v Geelong, Dangerfield set to come back, but and Radaglia set to come back. But a disclaimer.
In Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Scott has somewhat hinted that they're going to be managing some of these players, which tells me they're not going to get the full game time. So
There
just to
might
give
be
you a heads
someone,
up.
yeah.
They're playing, but
Geelong.
Sydney win and get their top 8 hopes back up.
I can't, with everything I've said, I have to say Geelong.
I
I don't
they don't
trust
have
Geelong.
Jeremy Cameron, man.
I don't trust them up
Cameron's
there.
not playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Geelong just, but Sydney are coming hard. They're pouring it on. They're
They are. I'm telling
pouring
ya.
it on.
Errol Goulden.
Yeah.
The Goulden slipper.
I saw this. I just saw him against Brisbane and I'm like,
There's something,
There's something
there.
about
There's
they played all right.
And
They
they
hung
haven't,
in
they
and they
haven't
were
had Buddy.
underman.
They haven't surprised.
And then
I
last
don't
week
want to
they
be
had
the
the bye.
guy. I don't want to be the guy that calls for Buddy's exit, but they
haven't
don't
had
Buddy.
need him. They
I
don't
don't think
need
they
him.
need him anymore.
They had the bye last week and they did all right.
Yeah. Adelaide v
percentage
North.
booster.
Adelaide v North Melbourne. 1:45 Saturday, July
Adelaide
1.
by 100 points.
That's hard.
Where? In Adelaide?
Yeah,
It's
that's
100
harsh.
points.
Adelaide for me.
Yep. Okay.
100 points.
Another
15 goals.
Another very good game. Saturday afternoon.
game. Danger
1:40.
game.
Do you even know what game it is? Bulldogs Fremantle?
Is it?
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
he's
what I'm
waiting
talking
for his
about.
Collingwood game.
I thought that was the Collingwood game.
No.
Collingwood's at 4.
I do agree that his one is. But
Is there 2 games at 4:30? Is there?
No, there's one, as per every week. There's 2 games that took 1:45
2:30.
and 2 games at 1:45.
Okay.
Oh, there's
What's
2
that
games.
game there?
Bulldogs Fremantle's the game we're on.
Oh.
Who do you reckon?
Where?
Eddie had Marvel.
Bulldogs, yeah, Bulldogs.
Freo.
That's
They
tough.
beat him
That's
there last
very
year.
tough.
They
That's
beat
line
him
ball.
there
Yeah,
last
To
year.
me, it's line ball. I've got no idea.
Rory Lobb.
What are the odds? Who's favourite?
Yeah, I think Bulldogs.
Bulldogs 5.5 point. They're $1.55 ish, roughly.
Oh, wow.
Circa. Nah, less. Actually, $1.50.
Yeah, I don't know who wins
Yeah.
that. Dockers for me.
So 6-4 the Dockers. $2.50 Fremantle. You taking it? No? Yes?
At that price, I'd take Freo.
Yeah? Okay.
I would
All
take
right, let's
Freo.
move
Yeah,
on.
I don't trust the Dogs.
Collingwood, Gold Coast, HBS, Heritage
Tough
Bank
one.
Stadium, 4:35 Saturday twilight meeting.
Gold Coast.
Paul?
Dickhead.
Collingwood. Collingwood. Okay. I'm going to go the Pies.
They don't play well up there.
Something
They don't play well up there.
stinks.
You guys.
Stinks.
You
We
actually
just
don't.
beat them there
You don't
last
play-
year.
Oh, yeah.
No
look at the
Victorian
game.
team plays
We
well
don't
up
know.
there.
You can't. That's actually true.
In the
Well,
wet
we beat them
conditions,
there
in these
last-
twilight conditions, no Victorian
we-
team excels.
You do acclimatise as well.
We beat them there last year.
Weed them there. You weed them.
We beat them.
Collingwood
we beat it.
supporters.
Unless
Don't
look, you're
expect too
right.
much of
I'm
them.
No,
just,
they are tough to beat up
they
there.
are. They are tough to beat.
Who do you
And
think you're going to
I
win?
actually like them. I reckon they're going in the right direction.
Gold Coast or Collingwood, obviously.
Collingwood will win.
When's the Collingwood Port game that you're going to Adelaide Oval?
Ooh, 3 weeks.
So he's
Oh, that
going
would
to he's
be
going to
good.
join all the
Good
other
luck.
scumbags.
They'll kill you. They'll kill
He'll
you.
fit in. He's
Okay,
normal.
can I? You been?
He'll fit in. He's
And I,
normal.
you know, I
And I
messaged
wore
you.
Carlton.
You know, I messaged you
Yeah.
on the way home, telling you to watch the replay.
Yeah.
Right now,
I've been to every ground. I've been to
are
pretty
they
much.
feral? And can
I,
you wear
I went to the Adelaide game and I've been to a Port game.
Can
But
you
the
wear
Port-
your colours?
I did, and it didn't go well for me.
Would they give you shit?
As I was walking out, yeah, but we got done by 100 points.
Bro, he'd go buy him a pie. He wouldn't care.
No, look, I didn't take any. Look, what's
He'd
there to
laugh
do?
at him.
You just sit down and take it.
He's the type that would video
Yeah.
record
The wo-
them
I'll be
giving
honest
him
with you.
abuse. You'd have the phone
Yeah.
go like this to him.
It is hard. The worst places I've been to watch the football by far was the old Amy Stadium
Yeah.
football park.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide supporters were very bad back then, and Fremantle supporters are worse than West Coast supporters by far.
Yeah. I copped it from West Coast. All right. So you can wear your colours.
Yeah, I'd wear your colours, but good luck.
Hope you have fun. Essendon v Port Adelaide, Saturday night, MCG. Boys, quickly.
Port.
Who was? Oh,
Essendon v
Essendon
Port
are gonna
Adelaide.
win. I hope they win.
All right, I'm going to go Port Adelaide. Hawthorn, Carlton, Sunday.
Carlton. Carlton.
Carlton. Jeez.
Even though
that took a lot out of
teams
him to
coming
say
off the
that.
bye, 2-10.
Wow.
They've all been soon. The teams that have lost, you've
and they're
expected to
coming and
lose.
they're coming off that game up in the Gold,
Gold
Coast.
Coast. Okay, 3:20 p.m. I can't say I'm exactly looking forward to this. MCG, Melbourne versus GWS.
Melbourne. But that's a rubbish
Melbourne.
game. How do they get the 320?
Oh my God! Do you want another more list?
Is that
do you
an
want,
Etihad?
do you want, mate? Your Sunday. You talk about eating
We're
your
missing
nonna's,
West Coast.
your nonna's pasta.
West Coast too.
I know you Thais love your pasta. Go and spend time with your family and eat your pasta and your pizza because St Kilda and West Coast play at 4:40.
Oh,
Boys,
Well,
I'll tell you who the real winner is going to be. Adam Simpson because you still have a job. What about you?
yeah.
St
to be St
Kilda easily.
Yeah, that's a
All right, boys. That's been big. That's actually one of the biggest ones we've done. Thank you both of you for coming.
It's been a pleasure. We didn't have to take the
hope
boxing
you
gloves
two had
out.
fun.
No, I think
was
we
good.
It
will.
went a lot better than what I
I'm
thought.
looking
If I'm
forward
not
to
going to
this
lie.
after a Collingwood-Carlton game.
Yeah, that could be in the works. We'll see if Michael wants to come back on. I know you want to come back on. We'll see if old mate Michael wants to come back on. But to our audience, thank you for joining us. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you got to do. Michael Maloney, Paul Italiano, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Go
boys.
Pies.
Go the Blues.